All right, I'm pretty sure we're talking about Spider-Man.
Who knows?
It's Amazing Spider-Man 2. It didn't start off that way in the pre-production, but we are talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2. Thank you so much for joining us on The Big Thing. If you're listening on podcast, thank you very much. Please make sure that you are leaving a rate, review, all that good stuff for Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it might be. Thank you for doing that. If you are watching on the YouTubes, please also do that. Even if you watch this on YouTube, every single one, please download us on podcast form. It's very, very important for us. We don't take donations on this show. We don't do super chats. We just try to get those sponsors that we love, and we hope that you will help us. But Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's we're leading up to Spider-Man No Way Home. Lots of stuff coming out to that movie. I mean, hell, even Morbius just came out, and that kind of ties into, we think anyway, with No Way Home. So how does this movie, if at all, Amazing Spider-Man 2, well, we know there is some stuff, and we're going to talk about that. Myself, Winston Marshall, Koichi Andrew. It's going to be a talk. I'll tell you that, because there's some interesting stuff that I found myself with this movie. And it's still taking me 3 days to watch The Last Jedi, I'll tell you that.
Couldn't even get through the intro.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's the big thing. Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. So happy for all the responses we've been getting on this rewatch series, whether it is the Star Wars series and this one. I don't know, guys. People like us together. I don't know if you know that.
I saw some comments. Everybody's like, my God, this is the greatest trio. You should rewatch everything.
Yeah, I saw some weird deep cuts, too. Like some, go back and watch, Indiana Jones. I'm like, what is the correlation?
Okay,
I mean, I will.
I need you both not to hit me.
You never seen it?
I've never seen an Indiana Jones film.
You know what, though? I kind of like that, though. I like it because I know that you'll watch it.
Yeah, no, of course, I will.
So...
It's not like Braveheart, where I'm worried you just won't experience.
I'll watch Braveheart. Yeah, you just got to tell me where I can watch Braveheart.
Okay, I'll lend it to you.
Okay, then great.
I probably have 7 copies.
Yeah, I imagine DVD, Blu-ray, VHS,
yeah, seriously,
Laserdisc.
What I'll say before we get into Amazing Spider-Man 2, I feel that you will love Raiders.
Okay.
I think you're gonna hate Temple of Doom.
Okay.
I really like Temple of Doom, but it's dated.
It's a piece of its time.
It's dated and it doesn't play the same way, but I love it. You might like it because of the campiness if you go in that way. Sure. You'll love Last Crusade.
Okay.
And you'll think the last one's a pile of farts on wheels.
Wasn't that the whole South Park thing? They're raping him and
Yeah. So but that's not this. This is some week for me, I'll tell you that. Amazing Spider-Man 2, Last Jedi, all in one shot. I will say I watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in one sitting as of today. I'm around 30 minutes in. It's taking me 2 days to watch The Last Jedi, so I will finish it up. But we are talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2. Andrew Garfield, Mark Webb directs this one. You know what's funny? The first thing I'll say about this movie, and I think you and I are going to be on the same page, Winston. Well, maybe not this part of it, but it's a bad movie. There's no doubt. It's a bad movie. And I think very similar to Spider-Man 3, the Raimi one, there's a lot in here that has potential. There's a lot in here that I thought was good. I thought the first 45 minutes of this movie was actually really good. And then it just kind of goes off the rails. The music in this movie from Mark Webb, really bad.
It's insane.
It's really bad.
It's some of the worst I've ever... It's Hans Zimmer and the something 6.
I'm not talking score.
Yeah,
I'm not talking score. I'm talking soundtrack
and the score.
Yeah, because the sound, the score itself is kind of obsolete. It's
so cartoonish.
It just comes. It is.
There's voices in it.
That's bad. But there's a scene when he's doing all the research and he's figuring something out, and there's that there's a song that comes on.
It's like the song from 2012.
That popular song that comes out, and it's like. I'm thinking in my head, if you use score here, way more effective. But he's doing that. What's the movie?
500 Days of
500 Days of Summer one.
I thought he was just going 90s rom-com.
But 500 Days of Summer mastered. So it feels like his.
Right, and that's his style, but it didn't work for the scene. There's a lot, and he's really good at music. The music in this, the soundtrack, was very distracting. And as if you've been following me, you know, music is very important to me in these films, and it was very jarring throughout the entire thing.
Okay, so I already sense I can sense the disturbance in the force since we're talking about all this Star Wars ish beforehand.
Jargon.
People are gonna lambast me for this, and I really don't give a flying fuck. There's my one.
Yeah.
He says one.
No, let's keep it a while.
So my order. I know I'm gonna genuinely try.
Yeah.
So my order, honestly, at this point after watching this, Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Out of all
The Amazing Spider-Man 3 of what we've watched so far. I really like that. There are a lot of issues here. There are a lot of issues.
But you enjoyed watching?
As far as like actual story, like or actual filmmaking, it would fall a lot farther down.
Yeah. The parent stuff works better in this one than it does in the first, but they already set it up. I know it's still bad,
still rough,
but they set it up. Yes,
I loved Harry until he became the Goblin, and then that went off the rails.
Yep.
I actually was totally fine with the motivations of Electro, this dude that's been shat on his entire life, and now the
Edward Enigma, you mean?
Question.
I mean, right? Yeah. But I actually don't hate where they go with it. I think maybe Jamie was. I know what they were trying to go for. I don't know if that was the best casting choice, but I don't hate the motivations behind the character. And to be honest with you, the full driving force of this story is Pete and Gwen,
which is the best part of the whole film.
So
incredible.
Well, it honestly, for a lot of the flaws, disappear because I found myself honestly, even though I'm like, God, this Goblin moment is so crappy.
Yeah.
But I still found myself emotionally drawn when she dies.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree that I was attached to the movie and the characters, but there was a lot of stuff I'm like, all right, just get through this part, Okay, we're back. We're back because like they open with the Rhino, for God's sakes.
Well,
and Paul Giamatti is one of my favorite actors of all time. He is in Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
he's in Batman.
He's got bat nipples on his rhinos.
He is 100. Come on, Spidey.
Yeah.
You want to fight? Come on and catch me. It's so bad.
That
and
he's such a good actor. I hated the mech. I hated the mech at the end too. On both ends that he's in.
The little kid coming out, and it's
I don't mind the little kid. That taps. It's weird to me that Spidey doesn't have to come in and save the child. The fact that the Rhino doesn't go move, child, and then start shooting guns or whatever
he does.
That's weird.
That's what I mean. It's just it's the way that it's everything in this movie comes down to the way everything is executed.
Yeah.
It's not the basis of the story itself. I mean, sure, does Spider-Man 3 and this movie share the same problem that there's too much going on? Yes, between the trying to get the Sinister Six set up and then Harry, and you could have developed a whole movie with just Harry and the Goblin in this movie.
And that would have been way more interesting.
Yeah.
So my order is not quite, I don't love it as much as you, which is not surprising, but that's impressive. I love that. I love when people get stuff out of movies. So this to me is actually a full letter grade up from where I remember. Okay. It's a lot better than I remember. I've had some time to heal. It is definitely problematic in the fact that it doesn't know what tone it wants to be. Because sometimes it's a beautiful rom-com. Sometimes it's a teen film. Sometimes it's a coming-of-age film, which is weird for a sequel. Sometimes Jamie Foxx is in another universe. And a lot of it works when you put it all together, but so much doesn't.
Right.
It's hard to actually appreciate the pieces that do work. Like you're saying, endure this scene, endure to the scene. Yeah. But what it really, really, really does, and what a Spider-Man movie needs to do, is it shows me that Andrew Garfield is the better Spider-Man by such a large margin. It is such a large.
Do you not like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man?
I feel like I can't now go back and watch the Tobies, having realized how much I love Andrew again.
I'm looking forward to getting to the MCU because I am now at that point where I think Andrew is my favorite Spider-Man.
I'm so Team Garfield
because like honestly, there are so many things here. You're talking about Peter Parker, where he's that nerd, but he finally found his balance even with his quips. It seemed like he was being like a teenage asshole in the last one,
which in the comics he starts out as, people forget, he's kind of a prick in the Ditko era. Yeah, like Stan Lee Ditko wrote him as a guy that was like, he's pushed down so far he like lashes out sometimes, and people forget that he's always hasn't been the nicest guy.
The balance here was insane. I honestly can't remember some of the jokes because I watched this like days ago, but some of the just the straight up Spider-Man quips, I'm like, that is exactly how he would do that.
They had comedy writers write it. They brought in a panel of comedy writers to write his quips and punch up the script. They only touch that stuff, and that's how he would perceive himself. Once you put on the mask, it is like a comedy writer writing you, because the whole point is that he's got a freedom to it. Right. This is the first time I felt like Peter Parker and Spider-Man had different humor, and I feel like they should.
Yes, I agree also that
God damn, is it visually good.
I think that Garfield is great.
Yeah,
I think, and I still think as both Peter and Spider-Man, he's really good. But I think the direction for him as Peter is still wrong, in my personal opinion, because I always look at one of my favorite movies of all time is a '90s movie called Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater, and it's a great movie.
It is.
So I haven't seen Indy, but I've somehow seen Pump Up the Volume,
which is a great movie. And the reason I bring that up is because the character Mark, who is the character's name, very kind of awkward teen and doesn't know how to really get his voice out and doesn't know. But when he turns that radio on, he's Happy Harry Hard on, right? And he just there's something about that microphone that allows him to be this other character, and the shield of awkwardness comes down.
Yeah.
He's just boom. That to me is what Peter Parker is. Peter Parker is awkward. It's in there, right? Like you might see snippets of it.
Sure.
But to me, the Garfield Peter Parker, he's the same.
But my only pushback on that, and I can give you that argument in the first one, is that the older Peter gets and the more he becomes a vet at this, Spider-Man bleeds a little bit into Peter Parker.
Yeah.
He starts to be...
The Oscorp scene, the fight.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
humor, and like to me that felt like you get to see both.
Exactly. So there is definitely a moment where Peter begins to grow up. And so he still has his nerdiness, he still has his awkwardness, but he grows.
He's growing a little bit. I get it. I guess because it wasn't really that. One. Yeah, it wasn't really clear in the first one.
Right.
And that was the coming of age thing that's weird to me. It's just a tonal thing where it would work if they leaned into it. Instead, they like touch it.
Right. There are none of those basketball moments though in this one.
No, which is beautiful.
Which is great.
God.
But it's just the difference.
Well, the Rhino mech.
Yeah, but even that is just a bad. It's just a different tone. I think Coy's 100% right. There's 4 different tones in this movie.
And I feel like that was the studio going, we want a cartoon, we want a teen film, we want...
Make it more
and then
fun,
the script comes out, and it feels like it. But what's interesting is every time that he's swinging around as Spider-Man, nothing else matters. And it's kind of like the game. Like when you're playing the video game, sometimes you don't want to fight guys, you just want to swing around.
Yeah.
There are moments in this where I'm like, I could watch this for 20 minutes straight.
Just watching
him swing around. Because it's the best Spider-Man we've seen.
I agree with that. And the other thing that is just... when stuff really works in this movie, it really works. Like the Gwen stuff is just, their chemistry is unbelievable.
It's insane.
And
it makes me sad they broke up.
Same.
When you're watching what happens in the actual movie with them, like their whole storyline, that whole thing with that Captain Stacy was like, don't get her involved in this.
Keep seeing the hallucinations.
That's why we thought he was in the second one. Remember, we all were like, wait, isn't he in the second one? He is.
He is, and that plays great. And there's two sides of this, and I want to go back to what we said. Like, yes, we could have done a full movie with Harry, right, and it would have been fine. That could have been number 4. This one could have been Electro, or excuse me, number 3. This one could have been Electro, and what they did. But I still think, because it's the same problem that you always have when there's too many villains. If you start to develop Electro and his reasoning very well, and then it's just, he got bit by eels, and now he's just a monster, and now he wants to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and it's like.
Well,
Just because he sees the guy and he goes, you tricked me. One time he's, no, I didn't trick you. Let's talk about this.
No,
come on,
no. Now that I understand. I think what would have made a little bit more sense in that Times Square scene to establish that Electro is done with you is like have Spidey start to talk him down a little bit, and like Electro freaks out by accident and almost kills somebody.
Right.
And then so Spider-Man starts going hardcore, beating the hell out of him, and he's like, what, dude, like, I thought you were my friend, like, and then let that be it. But all it is just because he happened to save a couple people that then he was like, you tricked me. I agree with you.
Yeah.
That doesn't work as well.
It's because they're rushing the motivation.
I feel like they made Jamie Foxx a bit on a spectrum, whatever that might be. Like, there was a choice there, and I think they could have leaned into that instead of the voiceover weird music choice.
That was weird.
I feel like the music choice was trying to be like, these are his thoughts, and instead they could have shown us, because it's Jamie Foxx. The guy's one of the most talented actors on the planet.
He's great.
You don't need Jamie Foxx subtext. It's here.
No, because everything Jamie Foxx was doing in the beginning was working.
Yes, exactly.
It was working. This awkward guy that just was, you notice me? Like, you know, because they try to tie it all the way in together. Like at the end when Harry's like, I need you. He's like, you need me? It's like he just wants to be accepted.
Yeah.
I got it. But the problem is that you just abandoned developing him. You start to develop him, and then you just bail because
even the Emma Stone scene was good development.
Yes, because they were like, well, we can't develop him anymore. That's good enough. Now we need to develop the Harry thing, and it's too much.
And if he just stayed Harry this whole movie and then killed Gwen in the third one, how good that would have been.
Right.
If we get to know how great their relationship is, because I actually like the Andrew Dane dynamic. Like, it's a really strong friendship.
Works. I agree with Winston 100% that once you get to that point where he wants the blood, that part, great, the research, all of it, and then and Peter and Spider-Man are telling him, it ain't gonna work for you. I'm doing this to help you. And then he goes in there, and then he just says, oh, now I'm evil. Oh, look at that suit. Let me put that on.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm an evil goblin, and now I'm gonna kill everybody.
And even deteriorating over the course of a whole movie, and then at the end of this, having him have to do the thing, and then the third one would have worked.
I'm not saying that I'm trying to do a whole other third Spider-Man film where Harry is now this maniacal, like, I'm gonna break you up with your girlfriend and all that stuff. But I genuinely think that if you had set him up and the end of the film is, they had some big fight at Oscorp. While this is happening, he's able to get in. He gets the Venom.
Jack Napier style.
And then all of a sudden you think he dies.
Yeah.
And then the post-credit scene is him being like,
yeah.
and then fine.
Way more interesting.
Because then you have a whole opportunity to develop him in that third film of what's been going on with him in the time from 2 to 3.
And how much better is it than we remember because we want 3 so bad? Like this movie actually, like it was a CC plus for me and it used to be like a D. It actually is better.
It absolutely got better for me on the watch. There's no doubt about it. I think because people also have to go back. It's the same conversation that we had about the first one, that you were only around 4.5 years attached from Spider-Man 3, Raimi's version. So everyone was very attached to, except Coy, was very into Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man. So it was hard for them to, you had to get people to embrace him because they're like, why? Because the argument, dude, I saw this one when Mark and I were reviewing for Schmoes, and the talk around everybody was, why are they doing another Origins Spider-Man movie? Why are they doing another Spider-Man movie? Who cares about this? And nobody wanted this movie. Nobody.
Then it was the highest grossing Spider-Man to date.
Was it really?
Amazing Spider-Man, when it dropped, beat the records.
Yeah, but times are different also from 2002 to 2012. But still, you're not wrong. It still did very well. But there was a lot to battle back from. So then when they did this one, it was like, nah, this ain't working. Plus you had the MCU really starting to kick up, because there was a rumor, and Corey, you probably know this better than I do, but there was a rumor that they were negotiating with the MCU to put Stark Tower into this movie.
Yeah, and they were actually trying to figure out a way to make Andrew canon long term. I actually read a bunch of interesting stuff about the fall apart. Like Sony hack was a huge part of why 3 didn't happen, because they were like in development of 3. They were going to announce 3 with Andrew Garfield at a live event. Like Andrew Garfield was booked to be at a live
They didn't
event.
scrap it after
No, they
this.
didn't.
Okay.
So 3 was happening, and then the Sony hack happened. Andrew Garfield was really disenfranchised with how they handled the character and was personally invested because he loves the character so much.
For the third film?
For the third film. For the how the second one was handled. He
like
wanted to be more hands-on for the third.
Yeah.
And they were like, no. Like, he wanted to have more control because he loves the character. And apparently the producers were like, you know what, this is too much. Scrap the whole thing.
We don't need it. We can figure it out.
I just remember the hack. One of the big things that came out is that and this was a direct stab at Miles Morales, but people were like kind of asking. They were like, Spider-Man will always be white and straight just because, Miles obviously being black and Puerto Rican and being bisexual. Yeah. They were like, nah, Spider-Man will always be white. And I was like, oh, so y'all just straight up saying screw Miles Morales then, huh? That's what that is. And that was a bad look. And I know
it's aggressively
they
bad.
lost.
Like Sony,
they lost. Well, it's funny because those leaks changed the whole dynamic. Because here's the
we were supposed to get a Men in Black and 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, we were.
I'm okay with not having that.
I would have loved that.
Great.
It's a whole other podcast.
Next week on the rewatch.
Ellis and I used to talk about all the time. I just think there's 2 different franchises. Anyway, but what if but the whole thing with the what if for this and those Sony leaks, if that doesn't happen and Spider-Man 3 happens, and then the negotiations probably would have gotten closer to Andrew Garfield being part of the MCU, and but Tom Holland then never happened.
That's true, and I do love Tom Holland. I'm excited to talk about those.
That's what I'm saying though. It's really bizarre and kind of ironic how all this plays into. And we haven't seen the movie, so we could be wrong. But what we were assuming for No Way Home,
right? We get it all.
Is that everything that was put into the past, it's all relevant now. That's why these rewatches are so relevant, because it's almost as if, because beforehand, if you watch the Tom Holland movies, you're like, I don't need to watch the Garfield one. I don't need to watch, because that
your kid, like it's a separate, like I don't need this yet.
It has nothing to do with anything. But now it very well might. I mean, we know that it does, at least Spider-Man 2 or Raimi, because Doc Ock is in it.
Yeah.
So if you weren't familiar with those movies and you want to see No Way Home and you're invested in Tom Holland, you got to watch it. Plus, we know Electro's in this one. It was announced.
There's a new picture of Tom Holland. Did you see this last week? He's in front of a garage. So there's a picture of Tom Holland with his mask off, and he's standing in front of a garage. It's Andrew Garfield's garage. If you look in at the garage, there's his desk that he designs the web shooters on. Over to the left is the Parker stuff. So they literally have a photo of Tom Holland in the Andrew Garfield set. It's happening.
I like that they're having
fun. Oh, it's great because we're the ads. We're the people. We're the trailer right now. Us doing this is the trailer. Sony is so smart. They're playing 4D chess. Every time there's any sort of leak, they don't need to put out a trailer. They don't need to spend the money, because it's us going like, oh my God, this is the thing. It's brilliant marketing.
Having fun with it. There will be one more big trailer, and I think it'll probably be right before Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah, I think it's next week.
So it'll be a massive.
I think it's next week.
I think it's a week and a half.
Yeah, because that's when it comes out.
Because it's out in 17th. So
I would make the argument that it might be out on Eternals because that's on Friday.
Eternals is different. The Eternals ain't a Sony property.
Yeah, it's because Sony wants
You think they're going to do it off of a Sony film?
Because Spider-Man's a Sony character.
Spider-Man's
I
Sony.
understand that, but it's still being an MCU film. I would be a little surprised.
It's the negotiation.
Yeah, no, that contract handshake. Think about how much more power Sony has. Look at the Morbius trailer.
I get confident. When I get confident on certain bets, I make them. I don't make you a bet.
No.
I only bet when I know it.
100%.
Also, Morbius was their Eternals push. Like that would have been that timing. They're not going to double down on 2 trailers back to back because it'll take heat off one.
Yeah.
So with the Morbius trailer, that takes away the option. So now they wait a week and a half, put it on Ghostbusters, a Sony property.
Yeah, because I mean, there's also to say there's you could also, and they might very well do this. They might debut it with Ghostbusters and then start running it
on Eternals. They do that all the time.
They do it all the time. So when Eternals comes out this weekend,
Right.
I mean,
won't have it, but they might have it next week.
Like next
it's
week.
also not the era of people seeing movies for the trailer anymore.
Right.
It's more like there was. Remember when what was it?
Force Awakens, man.
Force Awakens was huge, or the Spirited Away Final Fantasy thing. How people would leave.
Oh, okay.
They'd come see the 10-minute animated short and like leave before the movie.
I get it. I guess the only reason why I was asking is just or thinking in that direction is that they've done that before. So like when Guardians 2 came out, they put the Homecoming trailer in there. If I remember correctly, am I getting my release orders backwards? I thought it was Guardians 2 and then Spider-Man, or was it the other way?
I think Spider-Man was first.
Spider-Man was before Guardians 2.
Spider-Man was before Guardians 2, so then Black Panther?
I don't know. I don't remember trailer attachments. But also at the same time, this movie was weird because it had a post-credit scene and then it had another scene at the end of it, which was from X-Men.
Oh, wait, that's right, because that's not.
There was that weird.
It's
not
there. On there on Disney.
But in theater,
it was
the weirdest thing because there was a Fox movie.
All right,
there was an X-Men scene at the end of this movie.
So that's where I was confused watching this too, because you see Mr. Hat. In this thing
Mr.
again.
Hat.
Mr. Hat.
Do we think Mr. Hat's going to show up in No Way Home?
I don't, because the actor's passed away, and because the character, the character was in a couple frames of an annual comic.
No, I remember. You said.
And then he's in a novelization, which was trying to bring him more relevant. He's not that important.
But we know that, yes, but isn't he essentially like he's like the 50 Cent version of Nick Fury, right? And so, but don't you, because you're sold that they're going to do Sinister Six.
I think Michael Keaton gathers them.
You think Michael Keaton?
Because if he's in the Morbius trailer, I think he's trying to get all the villains to attack Spider-Man. So now that Morbius,
no, but I thought he was given. But wait,
Morbius was supposed to come out first.
Hold on, that's weird. Morbius was supposed to come out
first.
That was why that theory
But Michael Keaton in Vulture, he protects Spider-Man at the end of that movie.
But then he talks to Scorpion in the prison. I think he wants to take out Spider-Man. Like he protects him from Scorpion, but I think then he has a shift. Because Morbius was supposed to come out first. He's in the Morbius trailer for a reason.
Yeah.
Now my theory is a little wrong because it can't happen because No Way Home's first. But I do think Michael Keaton has something to do with it. I don't know what.
Yeah,
someone has to guess.
Remember Morbius was
I was
come out
right.
first.
Guardians came out first, and then Spider-Man Homecoming.
Was it?
Yeah.
Guardians 2?
Guardians 2 was May 5th. And then Spider-Man Homecoming was July 7th.
So that would have been the trailer.
Because that was around the same year as Wonder Woman, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that, but the big question there is, did Sony have anything big in that time? That's
whereas Ghostbusters, they're going to want to push.
Ghostbusters, they want to get something big. So,
and it's great.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters deserves.
But if we're talking about Jamie Foxx in this movie too, again, because he's going to be coming back. We know he's going to come back because as I was watching the end of it, they leave it very open-ended that he could come back.
Yeah.
Quick side note, if we're just talking about these Spider-Man trailers, I think the biggest fatal flaw that I think Endgame had is they were showing Far From Home trailers before Endgame.
Right.
I thought that was mad stupid.
Because we knew Spider-Man.
Even though we knew everyone was probably coming back to life.
But we want that suspension of disbelief.
You literally have been screw that last moment of Infinity War, whatever, Spider-Man's going to be back. And I'm
Sony, that was tricky.
They wanted to build it up. I know, that's true. It didn't hurt box office.
No, nobody suffered. And now Morbius is doing something crazy where it's just what if every universe? That trailer is insane.
It's insane. It was, I didn't, we'll get there soon. I don't really, the trailer itself didn't blow me away, but the Easter eggs inside of it.
Yes, I agree. I don't give two shits about Morbius, to be honest with you. I've never really liked him that much as a character. I don't hate him, but I don't really care.
I know nothing about him.
It's what you saw in the trailer is pretty much it. Though they played up his disease in this, because normally isn't just that it's not that he.
He's got a blood disease he tries to cure.
Right. I think in this they're saying he has cerebral palsy or something.
Well, the blood disease they're making more of a physical ailment.
Got it.
Whereas in the comics he's dying and it's a different medium.
But
they added the.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So, but either way, Electro.
Yeah.
Coming back to him. So he gets all pissed off. Harry saves him. He winds up
You know, Jay Washington's least favorite thing about Electro is the fact that apparently being shocked by electric eels fixes the gap in your teeth.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty
because they actually show it slide together.
Oh, it's just really funny. Yeah. But everything about like the powers and everything that happens, it's just kind of all right. He's Electro, and now he gets pissed off, and now Harry frees him, and that's why he's out. And then he goes to attack Spider-Man, and then he disappears, and we don't know if he's gonna come back, which I think works. Yeah. Because especially for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that you guys might think differently. I think that this actually might be my favorite Spider-Man fight is this last one in the grid. I don't love that they're playing Along Came a Spider.
Christ,
that's annoying.
Every music choice.
But the music choice.
I hate this song. So do I.
The music choice the music choice didn't do it for me, but the actual visuals of the fight, let alone how Spider-Man figures it out and all that, I thought was the best Spider-Man.
It was
fight
absolutely.
I like the science.
Yes, if you compare the fight there, because they have similarities between the Spider-Man 3 fight and this, as far as how it's kind of built. But this, to me, plays better. I don't disagree with you, but the music was atrocious.
Sure. I'm not
atrocious.
Even the last bit of a fight where he uses the momentum from a manhole cover. That's so Spider-Man. That Rhino bit.
Yeah.
It makes me forgive the Mech Rhino enough because I got to see Spider-Man as a Todd McFarlane.
It does the same thing that the first one does well, is it projects the images of what stuck in your brain about what Spider-Man looked like in comics or animated or whatever it was. It takes it so well. There's stuff that you could just pause and you'd be like, is that from the comic?
Yeah.
Like, they do it beautifully. They do it. Mark Webb does that great throughout the both of his films.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that would make me like knock this down a bunch of notches, ironically, is when he tries to save Gwen Stacy and he shoots it out and it looks like a hand. All of a sudden, it looks like
they slowed it down. And
they slow it down, and it looks like his webbing looks like a hand trying to reach out to her, and that took me out of it for a minute.
Also, there's a big flaw with that scene in the comic books, and it's foundational. It's as important as Uncle Ben.
So they changed stuff up here.
They changed something about the death it's hugely important. So there is a drop and there is the webbing catch, but in the comic books, it's off the bridge. They couldn't use the bridge again because they've already used the bridge too much. But what's important is he catches her right before he hits the water, and her neck snaps. And her neck snaps from not contact, from his webbing.
Right.
We don't know in the comic books if she was already dead or if Spider-Man killed her.
Right.
So it's foundationally important that Spider-Man lives with the guilt of like, did I kill Gwen because I misused my powers? Is it because I didn't do the right thing and dived to save her? Is it literally she thumped on the ground in this one and she bounced up and he caught her?
Right.
So it's clear that she would have died no matter what. It takes away a very important ambivalence.
So here's the conversations that we were having before this show started was like this stuff that, as a Star Wars fan, of why the things that I've kind of dove into over the years, being like the fan I think you are with comics, right?
Yeah.
There are certain things in Star Wars that bug me that wouldn't bother the two of you guys at all. What you just said doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't attached to it in the comics. I think you get the same emotional response out of it. I understand that he's got to live with it, but he lives with the Ben stuff. He lives with the idea that he could have stopped this guy from telling. He lives with that already. He lives with this Spider-Man is pained. Right? Yeah. He really is, and you feel it. And that's what Garfield does very well. So when she hits, I actually think it's pretty impactful, no pun intended, when it goes and when she goes when the way it works, because it's like she's trying, she's reaching, and you're like, oh, you gotta get her, and he's right there.
If it was 6 inches higher, it would have been because then it wouldn't have had the thump and it would have had the ambivalence.
I didn't mind
the ambivalence.
So here's the only reason why I'm okay with it, because they did enough of a setup and enough foreshadowing of let Gwen go. Let Gwen go.
Oh, you need that too.
Well, no. But I'm saying like that is still, and like that's why he's beating himself up. Is because I shouldn't have stopped her from getting on her plane. I shouldn't have, like, the minute she showed up, I should have webbed her to a wall and like left her.
Literal Captain Stacy visage. And that's a beautiful use of power and responsibility. He represents the responsibility. Also, two genius things they did. One, the clock. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Yeah.
When she fell, the clock shifted to 1:22 p.m. It's issue 122. She dies. Genius work.
That's
so
cool.
they literally great Easter egg. One of my favorite
I
Easter
love
eggs.
that you looked at me and said, I don't know if you guys noticed.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but let me know what the clock registered the issue she died in. Just in case
Christian,
you didn't know.
I don't know if you knew.
Do your research, bitch.
I'm just saying, important moment. And two, I really, Two, I do really like that this felt like they might have taken stuff from the David Fincher one we almost got before Sam Raimi. Yeah. This is the story David Fincher wanted to tell. They wanted to tell the day that Gwen Stacy died as a movie. So the darkness of this feels like that to me. So they might have just used that.
Again, this is the stuff to me that works. The other stuff that they tried to do too much of, when Felicity Jones shows up, because she's Black Cat, right?
Yeah.
That I know from just hanging out with you friggin' nerds. I would have never.
He did his research.
No, that's just. I remember Big Man talking about that. Right? And so, but either way, so she shows up, and I'm like, wait, she's in this? And then I'm like, oh, right, she's supposed to. They're setting up Black Cat. That never happens.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, I wonder if she's going to show up in No Way Home. That's what I like about these movies now tying into, because she probably won't show up, and Elizabeth Banks probably won't show up, but they could.
No. She might show up because we're going to talk about the. Oops,
sorry. Might as well. You know what? Take a break right there. I'm going to go to our sponsor right now. Our sponsor. He's going on tour, ladies and gentlemen. He'll be in Berlin. He'll be in Spain, and he's going to be in Mobile, Alabama. Here is the
Flirt and Flouse.
What are you doing here? How did you figure out my fake name?
I fucked the front door man.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Listen, I think that you are the most special person I've ever met, and I just want one night.
Well, I heard you put things on people's chests, so I don't know what to think right now.
I thought I'd surprise you. I just want one night with you. I promise you. I have things to get off my chest.
Speak your words, Sabra.
I was dating someone for about 2 years, and in that 2 years, no one had ever talked about poop.
Now I'm intrigued.
He never pooped in front of me. I never pooped in front of him. We never talked about poop.
Oh, one second. Yes, more breadsticks, please.
Well, so the Flirt and Flouse will be. Thank you to Diesel Time putting together that animation, by the way. But the Flirt and Flouse will be in those places I mentioned, and apparently he will be on the next Jeff Bezos rocket to outer space. So
big moves.
Huge moves for Flouse.
I will make one big announcement about the Flirt and Flouse, and I hope to see this on the Reddit thread. I really do. So Flirt and Flouse is leaving the FCL. And he'll be returning to the MTS next season.
Oh, wow.
That's a big moment.
That's
big
huge.
swings for flirting.
That's huge.
All right.
What you guys said, there's no draft.
I frankly, we're lobbying over here. We got a lot of decisions to make.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
What has aired by the time because we don't want to do this
No, we should definitely give away the Shazam ending.
No, let's not do that again. Pricks on Reddit. You see in this
what
one.
They say.
Nothing. This guy's like, what? How about editing it? It's like, idiot. Right?
I know.
And I'm like, I do all of this. I'm turning to Sebastian. I'm turning to Sebastian Maniscalco. Do you understand? I do all this myself. There's not little people jumping around, hitting buttons. It's me. I'm doing it. So shut up. What's wrong with you?
Let the record show from my POV, there's a picture of Christian and Sebastian. Directly to the left.
But dude, I'm telling you, like, so there was, he's just like, why don't you just edit it? We did this live to tape. I don't edit it.
It's all happening right here on a booth.
There's no editing.
Understand there's a reason why he gets mad if I say the F word more than once.
There is no power.
There's nobody.
No, the only way is like if something in the beginning happens, right? Then I can get Frank to go in there and take it out of there.
But it was halfway through the thing.
And that's what I'm saying.
You got it.
Also, it was dropping that night.
Stupid.
It was that night. It wasn't like you gave away a month or 2 weeks ahead. Spoiler.
No, but it was. I laughed about it though too. It was just like
Well, the funniest thing is then watching Barbarian Oyama. People are like, oh, 30 minutes in, there's a spoiler.
Oh,
and
was
I'm
there?
like,
What was the spoiler?
No, there wasn't. They got confused. They thought of your tweet. They were talking about the MTS match coming up. But that's what's so stupid is it's like that is edited. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the Strona matches are inherently edited.
The matches themselves are edited. It's like that was the one thing I just because I did what you did. I forgot when it aired.
This was
because we are getting very close to the end of the season. We're Spectacular's December 4th. Oh, it's
a month from today.
Let me tell you something I found out yesterday.
What happened?
I can't wait. They shouldn't have told me this
because he's about to spoil it.
They have rockets that shoot up from the entrance at the Globe.
Yes,
like WrestleMania.
No. Oh my God!
Now that we know, I'm even more excited.
Now I'm upset that we didn't end up with them.
I just got to shoot. I got to put a fireproof jacket on Marisol because I think that's who I'm gonna do.
No. That's fine. But also, I know that all of our matches have aired. I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because Barbarian Oyama happened last week. So, all of our tournament appearances are over. That's what I can say. All the tournament appearances are over.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
Yeah,
but the only reason why I ask is based off. You know what? We'll just talk about it off camera because the thing I was going to say has to do with next year, and I just need to be quiet. So never mind.
A month from today is spectacular. It's all I know. As of recording this, we got 1 month.
If you can get there, schmodownlive.com. If you can't, you're dead to me. All right.
Just facts.
Oh my God.
That is true. Brett, what did Brett say? Brett said something. Brett did a joke on the show last week, and he said, as Brett normally does. And Brett said he was talking about people who don't watch watch movies in theaters, and he was like, because you should rent it out of theater. It means you don't care. And he's basically made fun of people who watch it at home. And some guy's like, "Oh, my mom couldn't get out of the house, Brett. Is she wrong?" I'm like, take a laugh.
Here you go. I got
one. People think everything's directed.
Come on, get lost.
Yo, free promotion right here. I got you.
Thank you.
If you don't go to Spectacular in December, if you don't show up, you're racist.
We just sold out. We just sold out.
We just sold out, bro. We just sold out. We just sold out.
Yeah, that's just like most people. That's what you just did. All you can say to start that is how most people tweet.
Yeah, no. I just saw a tweet happen live. I just got to see what tweets look like. There it is.
See how many comments. Like some people are gonna get it and laugh, and somebody's gonna be like, "What's how dare you?"
Problem.
There's gonna be at least 10 people just like,
everything about black people.
You're the problem with society right now. This is why we can't have things in 2021.
You lost this election in Virginia.
Woke media ruining the schmodown.
Anyway,
God.
Listen to me.
Spider-Man 2,
Yes.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yes, we heard of that movie.
All right, so the reason I think that what I was going to mention, you asked about Felicia, and you were like,
Yes,
"Oh, well,
that's right.
I'm glad they didn't say bye, Felicia." I would have chuckled, but I'm glad
Love
they
that
didn't do
Felicia
that.
Jones, by the way.
Yeah. But wasn't it Felicity Jones?
That's what I meant.
Yep. He combined the real name and the fake name, Felicia Jones.
Yep.
But
It's a great porn star name.
I do think she may be involved. Because in the Morbius trailer, there is a Daily Bugle, and it says up top, "Rhino on the loose," or "Rhino runs wild," something like that. And
Rhino
then
Zoo hoax.
Black Cat, friend or foe.
So
I do think that
it says that in
the Morbius trailer. So there's
does it really?
Yeah. So the newspaper he holds, there's
a
a Rhino and a Black Cat.
Wow.
We've heard rumors Rhinos in this movie. What's even more interesting is
Rhino and
They
Morbius.
might just do it better.
in No Way Home. They're already fixing Jamie Foxx. We just lost Christian. He's no longer seeing No Way Home.
No. They fixed.
How do you fix that guy?
I don't even know.
Electro, I know how you can fix Electro.
Yeah, you can because Jamie Foxx can fix the suit.
No chance. No chance to fix it.
If they do Rhino comic accurate and they make it a different universe as Rhino, it could work.
I guess.
It's a stretch.
Well, that's true. Well, that actually gets me to another point where what's funny is this, where the what ifs and the alternate universes and different, like Loki, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to Loki, there's different Lokis. There's young Loki, there's old Loki.
Alligator Loki.
The one character that I think that they could make work, because you never see his face in this, you just see emails, as J. Jonah Jameson.
Right.
What if that J. Jonah Jameson was J.K. Simmons?
I always thought it.
And
every
universe that's
J.K.
one
Simmons.
J.K.
How
Simmons.
amazing
Simmons.
would that be?
That's what I mean. So like you show up, he's a different one, but he's kind of the same.
No, to be honest with you,
Love
that
that angle.
email, like that just goes to show
felt
how
like him.
J.K. Simmons has so cemented in our brain.
Because I hear his voice.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. It's just like, hey, here's a picture of Spider-Man. He was clearly saving somebody.
And that
Like,
1
could you write
second
something
turnaround,
nice?
wrong.
Just subject header. Wrong. Like,
And at the speed of it, like the idea of him working at a
the email
.com, just like,
came
nope.
10 seconds later. That no one responds to emails that fast.
Now, I do think two important things. One, my theory from the beginning has been that Far From Home with J.K. Simmons is our first multiversal character. So I think that's going to be really important in No Way Home. Two, there's two completed scripts for a Black Cat movie. There's supposed to be a Black Cat solo movie.
With her or no?
We don't know.
Black and Silver.
Then there's Silver and Black is the second script. And that was going to be Silver Sable, who's a mercenary who works for both good and bad, that's attacked Spider-Man at times, and Black Cat, who's a thief that's been working with Spider-Man and against at different times.
So he's like
Catwoman.
Catwoman.
Yeah, basically. So it was going to be like a morality tale. That kind of like a vigilante woman. So they're going to be, the idea of that was going to be addressing what vigilantism and good and evil across the border was, because they were going to be like running back and forth across the border. Those two scripts could still be, just like this movie, rehashed and reused, if not building out of No Way Home. I firmly think No Way Home is going to launch at least 5 movies, including Kraven. Like, we know Kraven exists. I think they're going to get a Black Cat launch off. I think we might get a separate Sinister Six movie. I think there might be a lot of Sony
That's what
universe.
they're hoping for. What I think that they shouldn't do, and this is not just Sony. This is every studio that has done this, and it more times than not has failed. don't start announcing all these movies yet before you have delivered. Like you got like
Sure.
some Marvel, even Marvel when they started
Has
MCU,
shifted many times.
yes, they
People
shifted,
forget.
but when they started, there wasn't like, well, this is going to lead into the Avengers. They certainly had that plan.
Yeah.
Hence why plans work. New trilogy. So like plans work. And this is what this plan had.
Yes.
This is what the plan was. The MCU started up. Hopefully we can get, look, I'll tell you what, guys, let's do this Iron Man movie. If Downey hits, if this works, then we can start to set up.
Right.
Imagine if we can get to a place where we can set up all of the Avengers movies separately.
It seems so
Imagine
impossible.
it's impossible.
Yeah.
Imagine we'll do this movie. Wait, what are you saying, Kevin? No. What I'm saying here is, think about this. We get all these movies, and if they're hits, then we lead to the Avengers, and if we can get them all on the same page and get their contracts to say this,
Yep.
massive.
Do you remember?
Can you imagine writing those script
Do you
contracts?
remember watching the Avengers and specifically like there's a lot of cheering every time like Iron Man shows up and Captain America, but that for that first circle,
Yeah. Now we're spoiled. Now we're spoiled.
Yeah, now we expect that every 5 minutes. There was nothing like that
That was a
feeling.
big moment when they were all standing there together.
And now we expect, like, where's someone else? Where's someone else?
Well, think about it again, tying it all back into this.
Yeah.
When Spider-Man shows up, right?
Yeah.
Because we had never seen Tobey show up in one of these movies. We had never seen Andrew Garfield. So when we finally see Spider-Man, because Sony had the property for so long, it's the same feeling you're going to get when the X-Men finally show up. Because
Yeah.
we haven't had the X-Men in any of these movies yet, minus like Quicksilver, like that area or whatever it is too. But like when Wolverine shows up in the MCU.
first time you hear Shank, and
Yeah,
everybody's
man.
gonna go,
Oh,
God,
dude.
God,
Fantastic Four, same
Yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah.
so that's what the MCU is doing now very much reminds me of what the WWE did, right? Because the WWE and like wrestling and territories, or I don't know how much familiar you guys were with it, but like back in the day during the 80s, it was not monopolized the way it is today by just WWE and now AEW. There were territories. So like when you were in like Memphis had a big hold on like you would go and it'd be,
the show The Young Rock covers it a lot because there
Yes.
was like
Yes.
didn't The Rock's grandparents own like the Hawaii territory or something?
and they did business with Vince McMahon, who owned New York.
Oh, that's
Vince McMahon
cool.
Sr.
Okay.
And so what Vince McMahon Sr. was the one who was the king of New York.
Yeah.
But his son said, why do we just want New York? And he's like, let's get all the talent from everyone, build them up, take them, boom. But they had to make deals and leading up to it.
Right.
This is
Avengers.
my comparison to MCU, right?
Yeah.
So the company wasn't doing very well from all the stuff that was, some went well, some didn't, so they had to sell off properties. They sold the Hulk, Paramount had the Hulk or whatever it was, or Universal, I can't remember who had it.
Universal had Hulk, yeah.
Sony got
And Namor.
Spider-Man, and then Fox got
X-Men and Fantastic Four.
right. So because the MCU is the WWE now, if you will, they're going to get their wrestlers back.
Oh, yeah. They're,
And they-
they're
and they-
systematically seeking.
In one way or another.
Yeah.
Right? Because Sony still has the character, still owns the character, will have him for a bit.
Yeah.
But MCU now has this deal with them, which Sony was very smart to do because it boosts their business.
Oh,
Absolutely.
And now they have X-Men, and now
Yep.
they have Fantastic Four.
Yep.
So it's
By
eventually
buying the whole company.
Yeah, that's
What an insane, like, you couldn't have told me 10
made
years
the
ago
deals.
that Disney would be like,
That's why I
here's
make the
my
comparison to
question.
WWE.
And this is the one thing I was always trying to figure out because to me, I understand that would be a major point as to why Disney would want to do it. But that sale wasn't just to get the X-Men and Fantastic Four.
No,
right?
there were
It was
so many
because
other
all
streams
the
of
other
revenue.
properties that were there,
Alien.
and you just saw an opportunity to really okay.
And I think in the next 5 years, we're going to see a lot more of the Fox catalog appearing on Disney Plus. I think that was a Disney
Yeah.
Plus move. I think they're going to try to take over HBO Max. I think they're going to try to take over Netflix. And I think they're going to try to be because in the next 6 months, they're going to pass the infrastructure of any other streaming service as far as
do you
using
know how?
numbers.
And I know we'll get back to Amazing Spider-Man, I promise. But like I want to see. I actually don't want to see X-Men movies. I want to.
I want to see him on the show.
I want to see
Yeah.
series.
I want to see
X-Men
what I want to
series. I want to
see.
see a Wolverine hardcore series.
And then a big event movie.
Yeah.
And
Then-
like
then
5 shows per movie.
Basically, what the MCU did for all their characters in the movies, do that for all their characters on the
TV,
show,
and then
do a big movie.
Exactly. I want
Yeah.
5-1 the
Yeah.
other way. Right now
100%.
we're 5-1
Yes.
movies to show. I want
Yes.
5-1 X-Men.
Yeah.
Because you can do a more contained Xavier School like Harry Potter. I want
Yeah.
to see a Harry Potter X-Men. I want to see students in classrooms. I want to see them being taught. I want to see how
Yeah.
they feel oppressed. I want to connect to the characters. Then I
Okay.
want them to fight Magneto on the big screen.
I slightly agree and slightly disagree. I would love to see if you did a TV show that each episode focused on one mutant's origin.
Yeah.
and then the finale is a movie of the X-Men.
Yeah,
so I thought you were saying literally be in the school for a while and then like some big
you can do you do origins or stories about them on Disney Plus. And you build up to like a mini series event, kind of what they're doing for like Obi-Wan.
Sure, okay,
Yeah.
okay. If that's what you're talking,
because
so
they don't have. We need enough time to get to care about.
So the audience. Let's get the audience back on track here. Let's talk about the most important thing. These extras are terrible in this movie. They're so bad. The extras are
the most important thing.
They're so stupid. Where
it's Central Park scene. I mean
the Times Square scene. When all this is going on, and they're on the side going, "Hey, Spidey!" This is not a UFC fight.
No,
run for your lives.
That's a dangerous.
There's an electric man right there.
Yeah, right there.
Were you not around 2 years ago when the Lizard Man was trying to do everything
and turned you into lizards?
Yeah, and they brought him up for like 2 seconds and dropped him like a bad turd.
Yeah,
like
they acknowledged him for the
2
reasons
seconds.
they destroyed the spiders, which was cleverish.
I guess.
But I also think it's really funny that we've got the scene on the Times Square steps and the running up, and then they have people like reaching out, and then they turn into like CGI people. Like there was a weird cutaway where a couple of those people were
doing the slow mo,
right? But like they just weren't there with technology yet, so it was like, well, that person's gone.
That was my problem. That they were worried too much about. Look how cool, like we mentioned before, the stuff that they do when you get that good imagery. When you overdo it, it takes away from the overall story. So
I get it. I guess I didn't hate that because the one thing that I've hated so far about the MCU Spider-Man, part of what makes it fun is seeing how the spider sense works.
100%. But the problem is this. The problem is that when we're talking about this crammed story, that you're taking an extra 2 or 3 minutes that you could have taken to develop more character.
Sure.
So when you
one
have
more scene with Harry.
Yeah, when there's all these moments, it's like, oh, this is the big set piece, and to do this and do that, and to put the stupid extras going nuts, and then put voices in his head, and it's like,
but I guess that's the other thing. There are other places where we can trim the fat. We've already talked about let Harry build up in this, but then like he injects it, then he's in the next movie as the Goblin. Don't make him the Goblin for the last 10 minutes.
But that's a one what if situation. The other one is if you're trying to actually fix what they put on the screen.
Sure.
Trim some shit out. And this is one of those things you could have trimmed down for sure. And then, by the way, going into the parent stuff, which we all agree works better, I still hate it.
Still not good.
I still hate it because it's like, even when he goes, I like the acceptance of what they set up, that when Peter finally finds out that his dad was a good guy, I like that moment. However, I don't like that, well, what they don't know is it only works for my DNA.
I could have had just that moment. I could have literally had no Amazing Spider-Man 1 parents, no Amazing Spider-Man opening 2 parents, and just had him seeing his father and hearing why he's been absent. We care enough about Peter to care about his dad not being there. We just need that one scene, and that still has all the heart.
Go back to Winston's what if scenario with Harry, right?
Yeah.
If we don't know anything about the parents whatsoever, and you play it like the way Raimi did with the original mythology, right?
Yeah.
And then when he discovers something, when he finds out and he finds that tape, he's like, "Who's this?" It's like, it's your dad. And there's that moment. That's a setup to continue into the Harry storyline in number 3. How it then continues on of like the discovering of his parents.
And the Harry line where he says like, "I was there for you," the parents, and now he's there for him. That still works without even meeting the parents.
I love that scene with them when they first show up.
Stairs, great scene.
And they go in the park too.
Yeah.
I think they should have just found a way to do it maybe a little better. And again, they improved it in the second movie, but I think it's what you said. This particular Spider-Man, this Peter Parker, which is really true for all of them, it's just do you focus on it or not, is really defined by loss here.
Yeah.
Literally his parents walking out, Ben dying, Gwen Stacy's dad dying, Harry flipping out on him.
Harry losing his dad.
You're just
talking about Spider-Man.
I'm talking about Spider-Man. So then Harry going back on, and then Gwen, like his whole arc through these 2 films is about loss.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily hate it, especially if in that loss he is actually finding more strength.
It works for what's set up. I get it. I just doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you have to like the storyline itself. But going back to Harry's loss, right?
Yeah.
Talking about waste. Chris Cooper's wasted.
And the fact that Spider-Man never met Norman, that's so formative to the comic book character. They visually made him, because Ultimate Spider-Man comics were doing well. Remember Ultimate Goblin looked like a physical goblin? So they were trying to nod to that by having him green and with the fingernails and all that stuff. But it didn't work because that's a Spider-Man entity. Right. And you never have the science relationship to Norman.
And he never fought him.
And it's Chris Cooper.
Yeah.
It's such waste.
They just have him on the bed.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what I will say, another scene, going back to that stair scene, how we've mentioned how really good actors, and Dane DeHaan's a great actor, when what they can tell you inside their face without saying it, and I hope that all 3 of us pick this up, is that when Peter comes in and he walks in and he's just checking on his buddy, and he's skeptical. He's just like, I haven't seen you in like 10 years, and you show up now? It's like right after I get announced as running
Yeah.
the company. It's like he didn't
had
say
that
that.
rich boy moment.
He didn't say that, but
Yeah.
he's just more like interesting that you show up now.
Yeah.
But then Peter is just like, yo, I'm here for you, man. And he walks out, and then the shield comes down.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that was a really there's some great stuff that happens in this movie.
It needed a voiceover him saying, "Do you trust him? He wants your money. He wants your money. Do you trust him?" To a Hans Zimmer score.
Your money.
Yeah.
He wants your money.
But it's a mixture. It's not just Zimmer. It's Zimmer and like
Junkie XL. It's a bunch of good creators. Junkie XL's one of them, but it's just bad.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the fact that Harry keeps tapping back into that because that's exactly what he was taught. I don't think we always necessarily saw that with Franco's Harry, but for the most part, I mean, he's still throwing his dollars around. But I think even more so here, like you said, the look like, Peter, why are you here now? Just because I'm the CEO. The idea that they thought that he could be walked all over and he's throwing his weight around. And then even when he meets Spider-Man and be like, I need your blood. And he's like, I can't do it. You might die. And he's like, so how much is it going to take?
Right.
Like
that's how he solves everything.
That's what he thinks. Yeah, money.
Yeah, I think this next movie's got a lot to do. No Way Home I'm hearing it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'm hearing this movie is
I don't hate it
long. But I think that's how you do these things better because we were talking about what you trim. Just let us breathe in the world of Spider-Man a bit.
You have to earn it, and that's the thing. I think that No Way Home has earned it because you're not just going off of 2 films. You're going off of everything we've just watched. You know what I mean? So you've earned it at this point.
Yeah,
and
7 films.
That to me was the only reason, and I don't want to get into this because people are going to come in the comments and go crazy, but that was my only beef with the idea of a 4-hour Zack Snyder Justice League. We hadn't earned it yet. You know what I'm saying? We had essentially had 3 films. That's not enough to warrant 4 hours, in my opinion.
See, I would have started. I have the opposite approach to the Snyder Cut. Is I don't mind the Snyder Cut as its own piece of something because if you're going to make a Justice League movie, you need 4 hours. The problem was for me is that we got a solid Man of Steel movie, which set up a beautiful Henry Cavill Superman that I love. Then they were like, what if we quickly make a Justice League in BVS? And they added Wonder Woman, they added all this stuff. Yeah. And then they tried to do 7 comic storylines. And they're like, okay, that was wrong. 4-hour Snyder Cut. And it's like, okay, we need to know what you're trying to build. If you'd started with Snyder Cut and then did solo movies, that actually would have worked better for me than the Marvel approach.
Sure. I think it's because it was just trying to rush it. So that's all I'm saying. We have earned. I think why Infinity War and Endgame didn't bother me, and I was like, great, let me sit in it for a while, is because we had spent 20-odd movies getting to this point. Same with Spider-Man. We spent a good 7 to 8 films, let alone some shoot-offs from the MCU as well, to get to this point. So I'm totally fine with sitting in it because you're wrapping everything up.
I'm so curious, though, if they're going to do, if the 3 Spider-Men are going to fight together, right? At the end and have, or is it just going to be one of these things where they help each other out, or they fight together and does one of them? I
hope so.
I think there's going to be
out?
I think Toby bites it. Maybe it's wish fulfillment. I think Andrew Garfield is going to be a really different. I think it's going to be cool to see different fighting styles because one of them uses spider sense, one of them does. There's going to be different things, but I also think there's going to be a shot of a Spider-Verse shot where everyone jumps out. And I think we might even have a secret 4th Spider-Man.
You know what I want to see though too?
I think it's Spider-Gwen, and I think that's how Andrew anchors again.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm really hoping
that would be awesome,
dude. If we get Emma Stone back in the suit,
but I want to see when they're all fighting together, and then Andrew is using his version of the web shooters, and so's Tom Holland, and then Toby and Andrew looks down and he goes, wait, that stuff's in your body?
Yeah, that's got to be a conversation. That's got to be.
You know what's so funny? Because now I feel ignorant than a mug because I knew that some of the mutations happen when he becomes that human spider.
Yeah, that's how Morbius comes in.
But one again, finally reading One More Day for the first time, that was a whole era where he did have his actual webbing as a part of his body.
In the comics, they made it canon. So in the comics, there's this totem storyline after the movies. They actually modeled after the movie.
That's cool.
There's this cool totem storyline because if you look at Spider-Man comics, there's all these animal-based characters. There's Scorpion, there's Rhino. So they have this concept where Spider-Man is attached to the animal world, and that's why all of his villains are drawn to him. And then they bring in this animalistic side. He gets the organic webbing, all these things. And then there's these things that are consuming all the spider people across universes. That's actually how we got the Spider-Verse. These villains consuming spider people in the multiverse. And that's what I'm curious if we're going to touch on with this multiverse forming, if there are predators of the multiverse.
I'm so curious how it's all going to play because, especially with the way that it's why it's so important that I'm glad we're doing it, and hopefully it's inspiring people who want to see No Way Home to then go back and watch these other movies because because there is one of those things too. Again, using a Star Wars thing where many times when I was doing Jedi Council, I read everything that came out, any canon book that came out, devoured it, and then realized I'm enjoying these, but are they going to deliver everything I'm doing, is going to pay off for me,
right?
Because I want to see stuff start to pan out in movies and stuff too, and it didn't really. So I cut back on it. There's other stuff that does, and you read that stuff. But the question is, if someone just said they were never interested in the Andrew Garfield movies, they were never interested in Tobey movies at all, right?
Yeah.
And they go back and watch all of them. Do you guys think that will deliver for them?
I do.
Yeah,
I personally think they're different enough, strong enough, and of their time enough. They're unique.
But is it relevant? No. What I mean is
relevant to the movie?
relevance
I think it's going to be relevant to the movie.
Yeah. Yes,
absolutely.
I think so.
I mean, we've already seen, like you said, Dr. Octopus.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's two things actually that I'm very curious of what y'all's thoughts are. The first is, as much as I love Marissa Tomei and I love the breath of fresh air they brought to it, watching this one and seeing, I actually think Sally Field might also be my favorite Aunt May.
She's incredible.
I think Marissa Tomei is hysterical, but the whole nursing school element, and you're my child.
Yes,
you're
but
mine.
may I ask a question though?
Yeah.
She's just got this job at the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Why are they all listening to her when she's giving orders? She just started.
She's really good at what she does.
She commands a room.
She's really good at what she does.
She's Sally Field.
She's Aunt
Sally
May.
Field's got
She's Aunt May.
She's
Aunt May. Don't do this.
Surgeon at large.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
Maybe everyone
my
else-
wife said it. My wife's like, didn't she just start?
Okay, theory. She subconsciously knows that her nephew is Spider-Man, so she's been dealing with a trauma response. So therefore, in a moment of panic, she has authority where everyone else panics.
Why are we listening?
So she takes charge.
to that lady?
She takes charge.
Gump's mother, bro.
Hey, why is Ray out here mind controlling people and slicing up Kylo Ren? Get out of here.
What are you?
You're
I might as well
dangerous.
say
Poking the
that
Star Wars
as
bear.
you.
Are you poking the Star Wars bear? What is this move?
I might as well say that as you, 'cause we're on the same
I don't
page.
think this is the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I get that, but Aunt May has always been so strong. But specifically, that moment was a game changer when she straight up was like, "No, you're my kid."
Great moment.
Great moment. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But here's my question.
Yes.
Do you think, because we're dealing with a multiverse here, are we getting an Uncle Ben? Do you think that there's a situation where he then gets a chance to have a conversation with his Uncle Ben?
Yeah, well, here's the problem, though. The problem is, what Uncle Ben, right? Because the same argument can be made here. What if Andrew Garfield was to see Marissa Tomei? That's Aunt May?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
They're the same. They're like close in age.
That's what I mean.
That's going to be a moment.
That's what I'm saying. So it's just like, because they're not really related.
No.
So it's like, but that's not going to, they're not going to go down that way. But well, I didn't mean it that way.
Immediately, I'm like,
Hey, yo, wait,
multiversal
and then one of the New Yorkers pops in, hey, Spidey, you going to
not really related.
I see you say that, Spidey.
Is your spider sense tingling there, Parker?
Oh, my God.
in Alabama.
Hey, watch your weapon there, Spidey.
He's got some organic fluid coming out of somewhere.
We don't do that here, Spidey. Oh man!
But I think remember we haven't seen Uncle Ben or even really spoke about him at all.
Right, that's true.
So that to me would be kind of interesting to see. I know that we kind of substituted it with Iron Man a little bit, but I think that how interesting would that be to get an Uncle Ben now and have that moment?
You know what? The other thing though, there's no coincidence obviously now. So like when Sam Raimi was originally announced for Doctor Strange, I was like, no, right? And I still have that hesitance because I don't want it to become a Sam Raimi movie. I want Sam Raimi to direct a Doctor Strange movie. That's what I hope, right? And he's shown that he certainly can do that. The question I have, I lost my train of thought with the whole. Where were we going beforehand?
Aunt May, Uncle Ben.
Oh no. So when they signed Sam Raimi onto this thing to get him to do Doctor Strange, there's no he had to, when they knew they were bringing Doc Ock in and all that. They had to consult him religiously on this.
It's a brain trust.
Movie.
Sure.
And then the question is Mark Webb involved at all?
Man,
Probably not, right?
Probably not, because I feel like it hurt him. Like he was personally invested. I don't know if he'd want to. Like it might be an open wound. Like I'm surprised, to be honest. Andrew Garfield. There must have been an incredible script for Andrew Garfield to come back because of how much he was invested in the character.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an interesting thing with all these quotes coming out because
a truck of cash.
I mean that helps. That helps. He's very invested also in a truck of cash. Yeah. But Tom Holland said that he had this amazing scene between him, Aunt May, and someone else at the table, and he said it's one of the most important scenes he's ever filmed. Everyone was like,
Who said
Toby,
Tom Holland
Andrew,
said that?
Tom Holland said that. Everybody's like, Toby, Andrew, I think it's Uncle Ben.
I'm telling
Everyone's
you, bro,
been saying, I think Uncle Ben is in this movie, and I think it's a really important emotional scene, and it happens through the multiverse. So I think Uncle Ben is the important scene that Tom's
Who plays
talking
Uncle
about.
Ben, you think?
I mean, I wanted it to be Toby back in the day. I thought it'd be fun stunt casting, but that was before Spider-Verse.
Who's going to be
question.
great? Hugh Jackman.
Oh, I'd love that.
That would be
But
great.
because
that
you
would
could use
be
him.
great.
Because you could use him.
That would be great. I guess if it's Marissa Tomei, though, it has to be someone closer to her age looking. So Hugh Jackman works. Because for half a second, I was like, just as a joke, like if it was like Patrick Stewart, but like he's way too old to be with Marissa Tomei.
And we also don't know.
You know who I want? Like an actual good Uncle Ben? Nick Offerman to be a great Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Warm, Americana, has a charm, has an authority to him. Marissa Tomei age. Nick Offerman, that's my Uncle Ben.
That would be good.
Mickey Rourke.
My bird. Have you seen my bird, Peter?
Bryan Cranston?
Cranston would be good too.
He's a little up there for Marissa Tomei.
For Marissa Tomei as well. Really? It's on the edge. Yeah. You could do it.
Dude, I bet you they're the same age, or I bet you Marissa Tomei maybe older.
She is a lot older because remember, she won for Vinny in the 80s, bro.
That's true.
No, it was 90s, early 90s.
I would have sworn it was like 89. God damn it.
He's in a gambling mood today. Christian's just throwing around.
92, maybe 91, but 91, 92.
I'm looking at Rage. I'm curious.
I'm going to say 92.
Damn, Christian. You were totally right.
That's right.
It's 92.
Don't F with me.
That's why I didn't shake your hand. I'm not betting. No, Last time that happened, I had to make tuna and mac and cheese.
That was the one. That's true. But yeah, Marissa Tomei. And I wouldn't bet you. Look, how? I'll ask. Okay, I'm gonna ask Siri.
Now you thought Marissa and Brian were the same age.
I said the same. I said or Marissa's older.
Okay, that's so on the record. I didn't gamble because I'm Irish.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
I know that she's older because of when she
older than Bryan Cranston.
If I was to guess, I would say Bryan Cranston is 54 or 53, and if I was to guess Marissa Tomei, I say she's 57.
Okay,
she's not 50. I think she's like 55, okay. But she.
Okay, 56.
I've met Bryan Cranston a couple times, so I have a bias because I've seen him in real life, not with makeup.
How old?
Marissa Tomei, 56.
Ooh, close.
Okay, close.
57.
Bryan Cranston, 55. Again, I know more than perhaps.
Yes. Yeah.
That man is 65 years old.
Whoa.
He's a decade older than Marissa Tomei.
Is he really?
He's a 65-year-old man. Wow. He's just awesome. He's just got gravitas.
But I also
sorry, Marissa Tomei.
Right? No,
you look great.
But that was the shocking thing is that to know that she's in her mid-50s when she looks like she's in her early 40s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I guess that makes sense. So he was probably in his 50s when he started Breaking Bad.
He was in Power Rangers, the original series.
Yeah,
like that was a long time.
And he was also in the movie.
Everything. He's in like 6 episodes.
Well, he's in the movie too.
He's a couple of the monsters.
Yeah, and he's in the movie.
No, I know that.
He's in the new movie.
So he absolutely could be. He could be.
He was on Chips.
But still 57 to 65, you said?
Yeah.
56 to 65 is still
it's not a thing. It's just, it's doable. It's just like they're not the same age in the spectrum of I would consider them together. It's a Hollywood 10 years.
Whether or not, I think Uncle Ben would be interesting too, but this is a lot. You want to spin back to exactly what we're talking about here, whether it's Spider-Man 3, this movie, and now this third movie.
Yeah.
This is a lot to pack into one movie, man.
240. I'm hoping it actually is.
But it's a lot to pack in, you know?
I would also venture a guess that Act 1 obviously setting up that this is going to happen. Act 2, he is meeting these other Spider-Men maybe individually for no longer than maybe 15 or 20 minutes.
He does meet Fred Spiderman in this
Fred Spiderman. Yeah. Iconic character, Fred Spiderman.
But then by Act 3, when this is too much, then they'll show up and they'll come and help him to finish it off.
I think he meets one of them in Act 2, and then I think the reveal in the third act is the second one, is the third one, as well as a new Spider-Man.
And that's when the garbage can. No, not Frozen Plus. That's when the garbage can scene happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That got to happen.
They're pointing it. So it has to. That's what. It's funny because I hated the Juggernaut bitch thing.
Oh, I hated it.
I thought that was funny.
It was just them taking something that was happening on the internet and putting it into the movie.
But it doesn't suit the character.
It just doesn't suit the character.
No, I understand, but
this fits the character.
I'm happy for you.
This to me fits the characters. Like, wait, and people will.
It's got to happen.
People will cheer.
That's the third act. I think that's when we have a third one come out, and then there's a moment of this, and then we got a Spider-Man.
I don't know if they might recall it one more time. I think it's probably going to happen. The first Spider-Man he meets is like, "You're Spider-Man." I'm Spider-Man. Who are you?
I think
kind of like what they did at the end of Into the Spider-Verse, where you had 2099 and then like 60s being like, no, I asked you, what are you? Like,
do you think that they're going to explain to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like Doctor Strange role, that he could run into other?
I think they have to. I think that's the fourth movie. Like, I think we're going to get a Spider-Verse film. Like, I think we go into this.
Crazy.
I think it's going to get bigger and bolder because
Sony. His contract.
This is it. He has one guest appearance and one full-length appearance.
So if they did a. Well, no, for MCU, they wouldn't guest appearance.
They have an MCU appearance,
because what they could do if they wanted to, they could do a Holland,
Ian, a Tobey
Maguire, and Garfield together for Sony.
Right.
If they want
and
it.
Sony needs this. So I see Sony
It's a
going
massive movie that if they did that, the
can
three
you
of them
imagine?
together.
Well,
massive.
insane.
So that's the thing, though. Again, we were talking about how at the end of Venom, that Venom is clearly now in the same world. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Which Spider-Man is he referencing to? Is the question. Which
you
version?
see Holland.
Oh, you see Holland.
Yeah,
I haven't seen
but
the
I
movie.
also feel like it's temporary. I feel like that's a thing that's happened, but it
because
won't
of
last
Stranger's spell.
for a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I feel like this incursion event is temporary and it will shift back out.
And it would also just make it funny because remember Holland was like, I mean, I would love to make a Venom part of the MCU.
Yeah.
I mean, like that'd be
So,
dope.
Coy, I'm
like-
going to put you in a tough position here.
Uh-oh.
You only get one, and that's it. Never again. You can't see either one of them. Just
One Spider-Man movie?
No. Either No Way Home
Okay.
or Matrix.
Oh shit.
Matrix Revolutions
Yeah,
or
no.
Resurrections.
Yeah. Now you would take Spider-Man.
That's hard for me. I
Really?
really
Okay.
love the Matrix. But based
I would
off
listen
of
to him. You think he wrote the Matrix?
but for me, I guess based off of the hype that's coming with Spider-Man, I go Spider-Man.
Right.
But if these were kind of unraveling legitimately at the same time, I would be conflicted.
Yeah, here's the reason why before Coy answers and has to cry doing so. The reason why I think that if you didn't see a trailer,
Yeah.
I think that Spider-Man would have been the easy choice because Spider-Man so far has delivered on the last two movies and it has connected to the MCU very well. B, connecting all these other movies that a lot of people do like Amazing Spider-Man 1 and some 2, and then people love the Tobey Maguire one. So to see all that, that's going to be an easy choice for people. But I know his confliction with the movie in general and how good the trailer looks.
So the conflict, interestingly, is career versus personal life. I feel like in my personal life, The Matrix is foundational, and I feel like in Spider-Man is foundational, but the Spider-Man movies, as we've discussed, these last 5 of them, aren't the character to a T to me, whereas like The Matrix reformed how I perceive the world at large. So to me, The Matrix is foundational to who I am as a person, whereas the Spider-Man movies, I connect to the comic books more. So it's like, do I pick one of these two? But I think for my career, without experiencing what this Spider-Man culmination is, it's like missing Endgame. Like it's such a foundational format for the next 10 years of movies. So I think if I wasn't in this career path, I would say Matrix because of what it means to me as a human. But since I'm in this today, I'm going to say Spider-Man.
Okay. All right. I like how thought out that was.
It's painful.
Yeah.
I was suffering.
Hi, my name is Coy Jandrew, and today in my TED Talk, I'll explain to you why I can't make the decision.
Can't make the decision.
I just can't do it, you guys. I just can't.
Well, what we can do is continue on our rewatch series, and we're going to do it. So now we're starting to get into the MCU because next week we get into Homecoming. It is the first movie in the Tom Holland, well, now I guess trilogy, if you can consider No Way Home. But we're going to go into that. So to let people know how we're going to do it, we will do No Way Home. And then we're going to do Homecoming. Not Homecoming, right? No,
Homecoming's first.
Sorry, Homecoming's first. And then Far From Home is the second one. And after we finish Far From Home, for like the last 15, 20 minutes of the Far From Home, we're going to get into all of the other appearances, whether it's Civil War, Avengers 1 and 2. So, and that's the only other ones that he's in, right?
Just those three.
Those three. So we'll talk about that in depth. But then we'll finish off the entire series with Into the Spider-Verse because for obvious reasons, not only is it to me the best Spider-Man movie at the current moment in time, but it also is very relevant to the whole multiverse thing and if they're going to play into it and all. It's fantastic. I can't wait. That one I can't wait to
Has your daughter
rewatch.
seen it?
Not yet. No.
Oh,
I'm gonna watch
that's
it with her.
amazing.
I'm gonna watch that one with her.
The only thing I wish we could do, I know we got to get out of here, is I wish we could go and see it in 3D in a theater because they've animated it so that it actually was it was like the comic pages were turning in real life. It was so cool.
And it's the Oscar winning.
Yeah.
It's the only Oscar-winning Spider-Man film.
It's one of the few Oscar-winning comic book films.
I'm actually very excited to rewatch it. I remember I think I might have only seen it once.
Wow. I've seen it like
seen
10
it,
times.
And loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I'm excited for you.
I'm going to watch it with my daughter.
Get a log line from your daughter for us. Like, let us know what your daughter thought. I want to get her review because she's such a smart, well-spoken
kid.
kid.
Something the other day about when we were talking about she loved her favorite Star Wars movie was Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. So we started watching that one, and but she's 10.
What are you trying to say? You want to get Mark Ellis on the phone? Say that to his face.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. But when we were talking, she's just like wait because you find out the Leia sister thing. She goes, wait, Dad. So he didn't know it was the sister, did he? and I'm like, no. And then at the time he's like, yeah. She Still gross.
It's the Marissa Tomei
She's
movie.
hilarious, dude.
She's hilarious.
Yeah, I got to know what she thinks because I can't wait to hear
She's going to
thoughts.
win an Oscar for My Cousin Vinny too, bro.
Yeah.
No, if anyone's going to win for My Cousin Vinny, it's going to be the 4-year-old.
Oh, really?
Little Italian mafioso.
Yeah, she's the one I say reminds me of Silvio from The Sopranos.
Oh,
She's like, Dada, hey, you going to take me to school today? I got to work, honey. Maybe you don't.
I want her review too. I want to know what she thinks too.
They're both characters. Like, look, this is it. We're gonna be back next week. This is a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun. We have a blast doing this one. So thank you. Leave those comments, man. Those comments, we respond to all of them. At least I do. These guys don't do anything.
I commented the last two.
A couple. You know.
It's a lot.
I comment back. I think community is very important in YouTube. I think it's something that was lost, and I want to make sure that we've been doing this. Thank you. We're over 20,000 subscribers now. Thank you guys so much for getting us there. Apple Podcast, Spotify, it is so important. I know that maybe you're like, I don't need to do that. Please do. If you ever wonder, like, well, I can't contribute financially. I can't be part of the Patreon. I can't come to the spectaculars. I can't donate. What can I do? Subscribe to the podcast. I can't tell you how much it helps. All right. Thank you to Winston. Thank you to Coy. See you on the flip side.